Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Wine Down ReWine, where we rewind the latest in entertainment and pop culture news. Thank you for joining us this week. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
And there is so much to get to in this episode. It's kind of weird, Tammy. The news was kind of divided a little bit between music and men behaving badly. So I guess that would be the theme or the focus. I don't have a title yet. I have no idea. Maybe it'll come to us during this episode. Sometimes it happens like that. So, how have you been?
Uh, yeah, I'm tired.
Tired.
Yeah. And as you can hear from my voice, I am not physically 100. So, yeah. Excuse me if I cough at any point. I guess this week is going to be my week. Last time it was Eddie's. Now it's going to be mine.
It's yours. Yeah. So it's whatever it is, it's passing through the airwaves. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Speaking of not feeling 100, I want to start off with a get well to Justin Bieber. Get well soon. Have you heard about Justin Bieber?
Nope.
This is a new one. I just found out myself. He has something called Ramsay Hunt syndrome, which is a rare neurological disorder which can cause facial paralysis. So he's had to cancel a few of his shows. I'm not sure if he's canceled the whole remainder of his tour, but he's canceled, postponed, or canceled quite a few dates to fully recuperate. One whole side of his face is pretty much paralyzed, and he said he's having trouble eating and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's something that he says he's doing facial exercises. I think it's something that he can recover from. Not sure what causes it or anything like that. So, best of wishes and well wishes and get well to the Beebs. So that was kind of sad to hear. Also in news, speaking of Justin's, Timberlake, he sold the SexyBack, all of his catalog for $100 million. Um, I'm not surprised that he sold it because that seems to be the thing, people taking their catalogs and their music and selling them, and which is okay. It's good. You have the rights to money grab. I'm just surprised that it sold for so much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a Timberlake fan. I like old school Timberlake, not too much on his newer stuff, but I didn't realize that it was worth that much. What about you?
I'm not surprised. He was one of the hottest artists. Whenever he came out, he would sell extremely well. So I'm not surprised on $100 million on selling his catalog. He had a lot of hits in his catalog. A lot of
He
hits.
he did. He did. In those first two, 3 albums, they were bangers. That last one where he kind of channeled his inner John Mayer and went folksy, not so much. But yeah, so I guess I was just surprised, A, that he actually owned his master, so kudos to him for that. But B, like I said, I knew he had a lot of hits. I just didn't know it would sell for that much. So, especially considering he didn't have a lot of. He's only released what, 4 albums, 3 albums, something like
Five.
that. Five. Oh, five. Wow. So it's more than I thought. Okay, 5 albums. So, like I said, I guess after the first three, I kind of was like, okay, all right. I see where we're going with that. So, and then you okay?
Yeah, just need some
Yeah.
water. Keep
Um,
going.
Anita Baker, she actually got her, thanks to Chance the Rapper, he helped her get her masters back. So, get ownership. So it kind of shows me the juxtaposition a little bit between artists, female artists especially, and black artists. How some artists are out trying to get the cash, get the bag, and sell their music, and others are fighting so hard to get their masters back, to have control of that. Not to say that they won't ever sell it, but just to have that option. And of course, the one person that comes to mind is Taylor Swift. and how she was royally screwed over a couple years ago when it came to her music and her ownership of her music and being in control of selling it. So it's kind of like in the music industry. I guess they say it's the case of the haves and the have. I don't know. It just that strikes me. But anyway, moving on. Uh, Now we talked about this one a few in our last episode, and once you saw BTS they had a successful visit to the White House, which actually turned out to be a little bit different than I thought it was going to be. It didn't turn out to be the complete um, PR the PR stunt that I thought that it was going to be. Of course, they did go and speak in the press room a little bit. They didn't take any questions, but it seemed like they actually had a legit meeting and conversation with the president. Of course, there were some photos and stuff like that, but it wasn't all on tape. It wasn't just a ceremonial thing. So that was interesting to see. It seemed a little bit more legit than we thought. So did it change? Did the aftermath or the outcome, did it change your initial thoughts about it?
No. No, we have famous Asian American artists that President Biden could have spoken to about anti-Asian hate in America. So I still consider it to be a publicity stunt, seeing as how BTS is the biggest boy band in the world, and so they've allowed themselves to be used multiple times because of their popularity, because it also adds it gives them value as well, as they put their name out there and put themselves out there. So it's not like they're not getting something out of the equation. They are definitely getting something out of the equation. But yeah, no, my mindset did not change. I still consider it to be on, out of everybody you could have talked to. Yeah, BTS wouldn't have been my choice. I don't
Yeah,
I don't necessarily see them. Yeah.
I get what you're saying from a certain standpoint, but when we're talking about in America, again, because it kind of goes to how they're treated sometimes when they come here, thinking about to um, the multiple death threats that they've received when they came here. I remember, a show in Dallas a few years ago. They said that was a shit show, and they nearly had to cancel it because of the threats. And then you have people like Tucker Carlson, who caught the full wrath of the army for being Fucker Carlson, and basically saying, why would you invite them here? They hate America. They want, so it kind of like seeing all of that, it kind of goes into you don't know who's from here and who's not. So I get it from the point from this. I agree with you on one hand, and I did not change my opinion about that. I think it would have served you well to also have, and again, don't know who else was at the meeting or who else he's talked to. Just know that this was the front facing or the public facing part of it, about Asian anti-Asian hate, which has increased um, at least tenfold due to COVID, and the beginnings of COVID, tracing it back to China and all of that. But it's still a problem. So I get it. Like I said, it to me, just seeing the outcome, it wasn't the full on PR stunt that I initially thought it was going to be. So I applaud them for that. Like I said, it seems like that there was some legitimacy added to it. Um, but we'll see what comes out of it. That's what I'm more interested in, is what actions are going to be taken to help combat those issues of racism, and things of that nature. So we'll see. And they're speaking of BTS, they're also in the midst of their comeback, performing on Asian shows, which will probably be released here in the next couple of days on YouTube. Interested to see how that goes, for their anthology album Proof, which features songs spanning their career, and a few new joints, including Yet to Come and some others. Um, And I'm gonna try to reserve asking you the question. Um, but you can hear our full opinion on the BTS comeback, what we think of the album and the new song, when we get to our when we do our annual K-pop K-pop comeback episode, a little bit later on. I'm interested to see what you think, especially about the newer songs.
uh, I think I can give a very short.
Okay, go
You know,
ahead, go for it.
I am extremely happy um, with the fact that they're going back to their roots. Um, on I've been saying it for about 2 years since I really since they kind of started to go more Western, and I was not a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of that. I've said it multiple times. Um, and I think that they hurt a lot of fans who had the same opinion as me on them going back to embracing what made them popular, what made them huge, what made them who they are. And so I think this album, naming proof, because proof that they are talented, proof that um that they've been doing this on their own for years, and they're gonna go back to they're embracing back what made them who they are. And RM has said this already, and so I was happy.
Cool. I am going to save my opinion. I liked it. Well, I can go. I liked it. It kind of, once the anthology was announced, I went back and I just listened to all of their albums front to back. Didn't skip any songs, and it kind of made me go back to why I liked BTS. And as someone who came in, career. Um, I will admittedly say that initially I was um, more a fan of their later stuff, and then just over the years I've actually gone back and just kind of listened to the earlier stuff, and um, I have to say that I do like different genres of BTS better than others. Um, and I do like this album. I think they did a good job on song selection. There's some that I wish, even some of the songs that weren't released, I wish they would have put on there. But like I said, we can get into more detail when we talk about it during our comeback episode. But overall, I think it was good. And the songs, the newer songs or the new release songs, I actually like them too. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll have more to talk about, including performances and all of that, when we get to the K-pop comeback episode. So, I think that does it for the music part of all of this. Um, but now is the next part. Like I said, it was kind of divided into this one, men behaving badly. And I think we haven't had a whole part of a show dedicated to problematic ass men in a while. So, every so often you just get stories about men doing fucked up shit. And this the news so far, the last couple of weeks has been kind of dominated by men behaving badly, problematic men doing problematic shit. So, and I know this isn't your favorite, so I just want to get this out there. I'm going to start with Nick Cannon. What the fuck is wrong with Nick Cannon? He is having another kid. By the end of this year, it is said that he is going to have 3 more children. And I thought he was done. Like, so if he's addressed this, and he I can't even say that he's a sex addict, because even if you are a sex addict, wrap it up. Okay. um it's just, in a way, it's irresponsible. And I know people have the argument that he can afford the children, blah blah blah. To me, it's not even about that. It's just, it's disgusting. um Yeah, just wrap it up. Like, and if it's true, he's gonna have 10 kids by the time this year is over, 10 and counting. So he needs to get his own fucking reality show and just be done with it. What, 20 and counting? I don't even know. But and I also had to say something to the women who continue to lay with him and have his children. Stop. Just stop.
Why?
Just I, why
Like,
would
no,
you want?
okay. To be honest, I'm with the people that say he can afford the kids. And if these women are getting pregnant with his kid, um and if he's gonna be in his kids' lives, from what I've seen, it's not like he's having these children and then throwing them to the side and not like participating in some way, shape, or form of raising them. Yes, we can have an issue with the fact of he's continuously having kids over and over again, even though he said he was gonna stop, and he's still having kids. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you can afford to have these kids, and you're not just having kids to have kids, but you are supporting them and being a part of their lives, why stop? Like, go for it. If these women want to have children by you, these women go, let them have kids by you. Like, let them.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a difference between being able to financially support them all. I get that, but it's also goes more into it. There's the matter of time. There's a matter of quality time, the emotional, mental, all of that. Just I like I said, it's just too much in my opinion. It comes down to a lot more than just money. Um, so just stop. Like I said, and he was like, I was celibate, and I guess my part of it is that when I was reading the article, he was saying that he had stopped having sex. So to him, it equates that every time he has sex, he has to impregnate someone. So that was the whole thing with me. It's like sex and pregnancy don't just necessarily go hand in hand. And that's why I say I can't even just say that he's a sex addict. It's like, look, dude, you can have sex and you can have as much sex as you want to, but you don't have to go out there and necessarily try to impregnate every woman you fuck. That's so yeah, it's just a whole bunch. It's just too much. Just stop. Like, seriously. Next time you go the celibacy route, you might also want to try the therapy route. That's just my opinion, especially if you think that um the only way to keep you from impregnating a woman is not to have sex. Again, there are ways around that. So, also, here's a big one. We haven't talked about this one in a long time. Deshaun Watson, the former quarterback for the Houston Texans, he went to the Cleveland Browns, and everyone thought the case was pretty much over because the whole reason he hadn't been traded from the Texans in like 2 years is because of the case. And I think at the time he was traded, it was like 20 women were suing him, and then, people just thought, oh, okay, it's over. See, they were lying. Well, now more women are coming out of the woodwork. It's also being said that the Texans helped cover this up, that they knew from the beginning, they helped cover it up, that in some ways they were complicit in a lot of his actual actions, that one of his attorneys had the DA in their pocket, as to why there weren't actual criminal charges filed. So the story is just a shit show. And when I say the Browns went all in on Deshaun Watson, I mean all in on Deshaun Watson. I think he got like $100 million contract or something like that for the Cleveland
250,
Browns. What was it?
250 million.
250 million. So see, I underestimated his quote unquote, and I'm doing air quotes and rolling my eyes, his worth at $250 million. And again, like I said, when I first read the case, the first one, it seemed a little suspect. So I was trying to reserve judgment and have the benefit of the doubt. But the more and more women that came out with more credible and believable stories, I was like, yeah. So, yeah, it's just a shit show, and we will see. Um, have you been keeping up with that one?
Um, Yes and no. So there's a New York Times article, I believe, that gives more details on all of this. There were three teams that were actually vying to sign him. Two teams dropped out at the last minute, and the Cleveland Browns ended up giving him a $250 million contract. Now, if the Cleveland Browns were um, if they ever decided to drop him, majority of that money automatically goes to him. So the contract that he signed is favorable to him rather than to the team. Um, yeah, everybody's complicit, but then so is the NFL. The misogyny within the NFL is ridiculous because you have because he's a quarterback, right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So here is let's look at two scenarios. Here's a quarterback that when he got traded, basically traded to the Cleveland Browns, had 22 cases against him for sexual assault, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct. 22 cases. Two of them was dropped, so that means 20 women. 20 cases were still on the table. He gets signed $250 million. He gets signed and $250 million, and now to find out that 66 women have accused him of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and sexual misconduct. And yet still he has been fully protected. Why? Because society doesn't care about women, especially Black women. Um, but then you have another quarterback who all he did was what? Kneel to protest the injustice within the United States against Black and brown people. And he was blacklisted from the NFL. So you care more about white supremacists than you do about women, especially Black women. And yet still, Black people support the NFL. We still watch the sports. We still go to the games. We still engage in this whole entire thing. So it's just really sad. It's really really sad because it's just showing that he's a horrible human being. And
Yeah.
nothing's going to be done. He's going to get away with it. Not like when I mean get away with it, I mean that the NFL is not going to punish him in any way, shape, or form. They have an investigation, but they're not going to do anything about it. No punishment is going to come to him from this organization whatsoever. Why? Because he is going to still make them money because he's a good quarterback.
Yeah. And so, and I guess what really set this off in motion, like I said, is Houston for the last 2 years or so, 2 years, 2+ years, he hasn't played. And Houston didn't trade him. And then after the first grand jury failed to indict on criminal charges, that's when everyone was just, excuse me, like, oh, um, because they didn't indict, then there's no criminal negligence or anything like that. But that's not necessarily the case. Um, and again, everyone's just like, oh, he's innocent or he's not guilty or I told you he didn't do it. But yet it still doesn't change the fact that you still have all these civil lawsuits and counting um, pending against him. And and it was quiet for a while after he got traded, and then it's kicked back up, and now especially talking about the Texans organization and their complicity in it all. So it kind of makes you wonder why they were so quiet, why they didn't, like you said, Colin Kaepernick was dropped like a bad habit, um, faster than you drop a bad habit just for kneeling for social injustice. But yet you have someone who has been accused by multiple women of such heinous acts, and you kind of you kind of stay as quiet as you can, and where smoke is fire, and what they say sometimes is the cover up is worse than the crime. So it's like, why? And that was one of the questions I always had, is why are the Texans holding on to this when they don't have to? So it's crazy. We will see how it plays out. And I agree with you. The NFL, they're not going to do shit. The misogyny and racism running through that organization, and every time, and I'm one of the people like I run hot and cold on the NFL. I do. I love football. I do. And so it's one of those things. When you're craving Chick-fil-A and it's like, ugh, should I eat Chick-fil-A? Should I not eat So it's just it's one of the it's really really hard. You try to how I don't know. You try to compartmentalize it, the social aspect versus your love of the game and watching the game, and sometimes it's really really hard. Um, so, we will see what happens. I guess we will file that one in the to be continued, obviously, because that case has not gone anywhere. Another one. This one is, I'm going to say this is surprising, but it's not. Ezra Miller, who is probably become a more of a household name since he's become the Flash, which Ezra Miller was always an indie artist, an indie, more so of an indie movie star. He's always been a little quirky, weird. People knew that he had, like, I'm not going to say an attitude, but he had a reputation for being volatile and kind of out there and just marching to the beat of his own drum. Now it's seeming, especially in the last few months, he's been arrested in Hawaii um, for just public outbursts, for assault. But now he's being charged with grooming and possibly kidnapping. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Um, I, yeah, that one is it's left me almost speechless. Like, what did you think about it?
I don't have an opinion.
Is that
Um,
when you're
I
reserving
mean,
judgment, or you just
based on the story, based on the article, he started
mhm.
grooming this person from when they were 12 years old. But now this person is 18 years old. They're an adult. So 6 years, and no signs were seen ahead of time. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I yeah, like, see, that's what I don't know. Like, I was like, you are, I I'm with you. That's why I say I'm speechless. Like, I know about the cases of him having his outburst, having the issues, and in Hawaii and being arrested and all of that. I know about, and he's, like I said, he's had that reputation, and this is the first I've heard of him. Um, and I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. This is the first I've heard of him kind of being a predator or anything along those lines. Um, but in part, and I'm not, but in parts of reading this, I'm with you. It seems like you're upset because your 18-year-old daughter ran off with Ezra Miller. I don't know the full relationship, but to me, it's like, if you notice that an adult, has taken an quote unquote unnatural interest in your child, whether they're famous or not, why are you going to continue to allow them to come around? So I'm not, like I said, this is one where I'm reserving judgment. I don't know, don't really have a full on opinion of it yet. They said that they've been in contact, but basically through video, and she's like, she's fine, she's okay, whatever. But the police or the courts haven't been able to find Ezra Miller to serve him with papers or the lawsuit. So and I was just like, wow. I bet Warner Brothers is wishing, just from the PR standpoint, especially at this, on top of everything else that's happened with him the last few months. I'm guessing Warner Brothers is kind of wishing they would have recast the role of the Flash when they had the chance. Um, so I don't know. We will see. It, like I said, it surprised me when he was cast because this wasn't normally he wasn't normally into a big budget thing, but also I know that he had been wanting to do this role. He fought really hard for it. So we'll see what happens, what the outcome of all of this is. Um, so also speaking of, now here's the big one. Did you ever finally keep up with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case? I know we talked about kind of
Nope.
off and on. You never watched it?
Nope.
Huh.
Why?
So what did you I don't know. I just figured you would always well, I know that you were never an Amber Heard fan and you were always more or less team Johnny, as far as believability. But I just figured that you would take more of an interest in it. I never watched it either, but I was just,
No, I have not watched 1 second of the trial. Not 1 second of the trial.
yeah, I didn't either. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I I read headlines and tweets and that kind of stuff, but nope, I refused. I was not getting dragged. I was not getting dragged into that nonsense.
Yeah, from what I hear, it was a real life soap opera slash telenovela. Um, but what did you think about the outcome?
Um, it was great for him. I hope that he can hopefully get start rebuilding his career. Um, over the fact that he's been vindicated in America on what she did to him. I do think she was more at fault than he was. Not to say either one of them was innocent because neither one was innocent. Johnny Depp was not innocent in this, but at the same time, like she went above and beyond to sell a certain image of him and herself, and it has come out to be a full lie, and I think that is vindication on its own. And so I hope that he is able to build back the career that he lost because of the lies that she put out there about him.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that because of the stuff that came out in America, it gives him a better grounds for appeal in the UK, because it was pretty much the same case, um, and that she lied. So, um, in that testimony, but we'll see. And like I said from before, they were both complicit. I guess that's the word of the day. Complicit. They were both complicit. It just seemed like an all the way around toxic relationship. He was also, even from his young age, I know he had a history of being volatile, never abusive, but just more or less volatile and kind of moody. That whole moody, broody artist, indie punk rock thing. That's always been his. I won't say his persona, but the what has been attached to him. Um, but you know, it seems like for him to all of a sudden just become a full on abuser, and that, I don't know, seemed a little weird. But like I said, like you said before, he's not completely innocent in all of this. But he wasn't the just raging um abuser that she made him out to be, especially when she wrote that, where she tried to low key write that article. And I think that's what really did it, that editorial, where she tried to skirt around the lines, because at that point you were married, you had just filed for separation. It was the height of Me Too, so everyone knew who you were talking about, even though you quote unquote didn't name names. um, so I think that really Yeah, like homegirl has issues. That just from what I've read in the headlines, just from the clips I've seen, the stuff that I've seen, um, she has some issues. She should probably get worked out, but I don't know. There's different things about whether or not this actually like how what it's going to take for him to rebuild his career, for him to make a comeback, and that it will be easier for him, probably because of the way the child turned out, than it would be for her. Not saying that it's over. You still have Aquaman 2 coming out, but they're saying that, just for different reasons. Maybe the reason she wasn't fired from Aquaman 2 because, her they wanted to get rid of her, but because of the chemistry issues, which we talked about, just in general, besides not being a big Amber Heard fan, the chemistry issues between her and Jason Momoa in the movie. So they don't know. They're saying that her role was drastically reduced in Aquaman 2. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that whole trial was just a shit show. I don't know about, you know. So she ultimately, he got what, a $15 million judgment in his favor. She got 2 million in her favor. So ultimately, she would probably have to end up actually paying him $13 million.
He's not gonna see a dime.
No, because she's gonna probably appeal it back, and
She don't have the money either.
huh?
She doesn't
Well,
have the money.
they were saying that insurance. There was some kind of insurance that she had on her home that would cover it. So, but the problem is it would cover the judgment. They just don't know if it would cover the appeal or something weird. I don't know how it would happen, but at this point, I don't necessarily think it was about the money. I think it was kind of about taking the first steps to rebuilding his reputation and trying to get his earning potential, his earning power in his career, and basically his life back. Um, so I have no idea how that is going to play out for them. Um, but yeah, we will see. All right. I have an interesting one. You have anything else?
What's your interesting one?
Well, it's kind of like a palate cleanser. Inflation, times are hard. Inflation is rising. Gas is out of freaking control. If we lived, I wish it, and it's times like this that I wish we lived in a city. Like, for those of you who are not familiar with Houston, we have the worst fucking public transportation system ever. Like, it's basically non-existent. You have the Metro bus, which it will take you what, 3 hours to get down the block on Metro, but we have Metro and that is it. And it only runs in like certain parts of town. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you coming from the East Coast, where y'all have great public transportation and all of that.
Goes
So
everywhere.
yeah. So what I was saying, the point of this is, groceries are high, everything's just really, really high. Well, inflation has also hit Snoop Dogg in his pocket too.
Oh, okay.
He has a full-time blunt roller.
Wait. So before you get to that palate cleanser, that I think is going to be hilarious. I do have a story.
Okay, what's your story?
So funny. Sorry. I'm just thinking. I feel like I just want to go to that story because, oh my God, I didn't. Yeah, forget it. My mind is already there. So let's go with your palate cleanser. Go for it, Eddie.
So, Snoop has a full-time blunt roller, which I really want to know the qualifications for getting this job to be Snoop's full-time blunt roller. Like, you got to roll a fatty. You got, like, what do you say? What
No,
do you
you got
wake
to
up
roll different ones. Are you the one that buys his weed for him, or do he have his own weed distributor? Like what's up with this job? Like, what is the qualifications?
This is legal in Cali. I feel like Snoop has his own like farm, like just
Probably.
like his own weed store, probably. Like him and Seth Rogen. Like, which I heard Seth Rogen had some good shit. I'm just saying, but so that's what I'm saying. It's like, how many do you roll a day? You like you said, you have to roll different ones. Like, do you wake up and say, "Yo, you want a fatty today? You want a skinny J?" Like, what are qualifications for this job? But I guess his full time blunt roller just got a raise due to inflation.
Oh,
So the rest of us are out here struggling to get a raise to try to make our regular check stretch a little further than we were. But the blunt roller for Snoop got a raise due to inflation. Like, is it the cost of gas to have, because California has the highest cost of living in the nation. So gas to go get like, what is it? Like, yeah.
I just want to know the qualifications for being a blunt roller.
A full-time one at that, meaning do you work 40 hours a week? Like, what, like,
You get vacation time, like
benefits?
days off. Like, well, what's up? What's up?
Like, are you making six figures? Because if so, yo, Snoop, I can learn how to roll, dude.
Yeah. Like, do you have a substitute if you call out?
Like, yeah, like you get paid leave, paid days off. Like, what is it? Like, I need to know.
Oh my gosh.
I really need to know. But yeah, when I read that, I'm like, really, dude? Like,
Snoop gave his blunt roller a raise. Yeah.
Due to inflation.
Due to inflation. Like, oh, I can't. Oh my god. Oh yeah.
You know what? So that's it. The one where we all need to be Snoop's blunt roller.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so do you want to do your story now, or we'll save it?
I feel like it just destroyed the whole momentum.
The blunt roller. It kills you high.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's a K-pop one, but it's not like a positive. So
okay, well, we will save it. We'll put it on for the next one. I'm sure there will be more to talk about. So I guess that does it for this week's episode. For this episode of the rewind. Please be sure to like, listen, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and guess what, Tammy? We're expanding our reach. We are now on iHeartRadio. Yay!
woo!
All right. So you can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the Popcorn Wine Down, making its full comeback this week. Check us out for the daily rewind and everything else amazing that we have to offer at the website. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, pop, pop. One day I am going to get my sound effect. I'm not going to harass her this week because she's feeling a little bit under the weather, and that's okay. But thank you as always, and until next time, I'm Eddie,
and I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.